All right, guys, it is Thursday, October 19th, 2023. So went to the store this morning, got some screws for the brake line clamps for Steve's chassis. So I could not find Allen screws, and the only tap they had in metric at Lowe's was a 4. And I don't know what that one is, but it's bigger than a 4. They went from 4 to 6, and it's not either of those. The 6 is too big, so it must be a 5. I don't know, because I don't know my metric stuff. But anyway, I ended up buying some 832. They're Phillips stainless steel countersunk screws, and I'm going to put those in for now for mock-up. They were only $2 for a pack of them at Lowe's, so I'm going to have to end up probably ordering the countersink Allen bolts. All right, going to do a little brake line tab relocation here. And I'll have to go back and do some spot grinding on these. So all I use is a little Scotch-Brite disc. That way it doesn't grind the metal out and make rough spots in it. So did that to bare metal so I can plug weld this. I've already removed this bracket from the frame here. So what I used is, this might be a secret to some guys, or not necessarily a secret, but this might be something that some of you guys that build cars may not have realized this yet. So you can buy drill bits that have a pilot tip already on them. So it's a little bitty tip on the end of that. And these are awesome for drilling spot welds. Awesome. So I could see the 2 spot weld indents right there. So I stuck that in there and I drilled that out. And as you can see, I didn't drill it all the way through. It's still got quite a bit of meat, but it was enough to be able to stick a metal punch in there and hit it and knock it off. Anyway, so I got it off there. Now, the bracket has a unique shape to it. Now, the factory had 2 spot welds on it, and they had a stitch on one side, so it kind of ate this one side out a little bit. So I'm going to put a stitch back on that. I'll probably go ahead and put one on the top too. But one thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to round these corners. It's just something that I always do. That's a spot to potentially remove skin from your body if you're working on your car. So anytime I'm doing something like this, because it doesn't take, very long at all just to take that 36 grit roll-lock disc or Norton Blaze disc and round that, and then put the Scotch disc on there and smooth the grinder marks out of it. So it's just, in case hand ever goes across it, it won't take skin off. That's all I did, was just rounded the corners, and it's just going to keep me from catching my finger on it or something. So now I'm going to measure and see if I can locate that bracket from this side to this side. And then after I get my measurement, then I got to go in here and grind this mess off from their stitch weld at the bottom and where I've got a little bit of the spot weld left over, just to smooth it off. My Sharpie quit working. I have to go get another one out. Might as well go get me something to drink too. Hold that thought. Before I plug weld those two holes I drilled in this bracket, I'm gonna let everything completely cool down, back cool again, because I don't want to delaminate any primer around it, because it's a couple inches around, it's going to be pretty hot. So if I keep on going, it's going to end up delaminating the primer out further on the frame. So I'm gonna let it cool. I got the bracket welded on the left side now. So I've got the rear rubber brake hose. So it has a long end on it, long steel fitting on the end, and then this one's kind of short. So the long end is what goes to your rear axle. The short end goes to that tab. I'm gonna stick that like that. Put the clip on. What I do with my hammer. So now I can go ahead and screw this in here and then, you know, get it bent to here and get it started. So I always start here when I'm doing a brake line on a Tri-5. I always start at the rear first and work my way forward. So one thing that they had done before on this car is they had two brake lines put together with a union. There's nothing wrong with using unions, but they had it right directly on top of a body mount like this. I don't remember which one it was on top of, but anyway, had that union have leaked, you wouldn't have been able to get to it with the body on it to tighten it. So this time when I do it, it's going to be out here kind of in the open, and I'm going to put a clamp close to that end for, you know, to hold the weight of the union up. So not that there's a lot of weight there, but you get what I'm saying. Okay. No need to use a bender right there because it's kind of a little, just a light curve in it. Trying to straighten that brake line out the best I can, man. It's once these things are all messed up, it's without having the machine that you run the line through to straighten it. I don't have one. I wish I did right now, but anyway, that's about how the brake line's going to route right there. So I need to get my clamps out, and let's get started on clamp placement here. So I lifted it up off the body mount right here. Right now it's laying in the back of that body mount, and I don't want it sitting on there because over time it could wear into it. So I raised it up off it a little bit, like, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch or so. So, you know, I'm going to go ahead and drill and tap this. I'm going to go ahead and get this part mounted and then just work that way. And I don't know if that's going to show it in the camera or not. I have to pick up the tripod and all here. So the union is going to be out in front of the cross member bracket, which is perfect. It's out in the open. It can be easily accessible to put a 3/8 wrench and a 7/16 wrench on to tighten it if it leaks. The brake line is mocked up. I like it. It looks pretty good. The brake line, you know, it was what was on it, and somebody's already tweaked around on it a little bit, and it's got a few little hiccups in it, but you're never going to see it anyway. I've got it way up high on the chassis, so I'm pretty happy with it. So I transferred the bracket to this side of the chassis. I plug welded it and stitched it top and bottom. I went back and used my belt sander and ground down the plug welds a little bit. But anyway, I had to put a slight bend in it here to go to the rubber brake hose and the bracket. And then I put a light curve in it here to match the frame. It has space off of the frame, so it's not going to touch it. And I've got space off my body mounts, so nothing's touching the body mounts there or there. Got plenty of space. So I've got 4 clamps down through here. I put the last clamp down here pretty close to the union, so this is supported. Problem is the frame starts curving in. It's pinched in at the front, so when I screwed this to that, the union was touching the frame. So I ended up pulling the screw back out, and I used a little 1/8 inch aluminum washer from a rivet set and put it in there, and it gave me plenty of space off the union there, so that'll work out really nice. So I'm gonna have to wait to finish the rest of it. I'm probably just gonna do it after the body's back on, because I've got to try to use his existing brake line set that he bought for a dual reservoir master cylinder, because instead of having 2 brake lines running across the frame cradle, I'm going to make the other one reroute and come back this way. So it'll be, you know, I'll have to do some bending and tweaking, and then I'll probably cut and flare, double flare it to match up to this guy here. So I'm happy with it, man. It's that's going to look pretty good, and it matches, even though this is 3/16 brake line and the fuel line's 3/8, it matches. The clamps are the same design, and also the area that the lines are in is kind of the same, so it's not too bad if you're OCD, you know what I mean? Other than I had to use Phillips screws because I can't find any Allen screws that are 832 and the length I needed. All they had was I think it was 3/8 long is all they had in stock at Lowe's, and those aren't long enough to get enough meat in the frame. Anytime I drill and tap a frame, I want to use a fine thread, not a coarse, so you have more surface area on